YouTube? How you feeling? How you living? What's good? It's your girlfriend Scene. Today is Friday, which means it's another rendition of Girl, I'm finna take your black card. A segment in which I talk about movies and TV shows. So we're gonna start that next year in the black community, black culture that I have not seen. And today we're doing a Christmas themed movie. We're gonna do a Christmas themed movie next week as well, because next week is Christmas. So, duh. But this movie is a little less Christmas themed than that movie. I feel like you could probably guess what that movie is. But this is The Preacher's Wife, right? This movie is a very big, prolific movie, so I apparently have seen it before. My mom keeps telling me I've seen these movies. Let's take a second. My mom keeps telling me I've seen these movies, and I don't remember them. I'm trying to figure out when this happened, because I don't remember. And I know my memory is bad, but this is now the second time I've apparently seen a movie, and I don't remember. I have no recollection of this movie, so we might need to get some stuff checked out. I'm just saying. This movie has been out since 1996, so no excuses really. And if you like the ears, I'm gonna address the elephant in the room. They're cute, right? I'm trying to be Christmassy with the red, you know. But yeah, this movie stars Denzel Washington, Courtney Vance, and Whitney Houston. So, I mean, it has to be good. Like, it has to be good. First of all, the music is going to be amazing because it's Whitney Houston. Let's be real. When does Whitney Houston sounded bad? Let's be real. And you know, Denzel Washington, duh, and Courtney Vance, also, duh. I mean, all of these people are good at what they do. So, without further ado, let's get into my review of The Preacher's Wife. Okay, so at the beginning of this movie, we start off with a narration. Now, I'm gonna pause, and I'm gonna put my unpopular opinion in the beginning so I don't have to bring it up again. This movie, I guess, tries to do the same thing that Soul Food did by having a little boy narrate the whole thing. And the difference between Soul Food and this movie is that the boy in Soul Food could actually act. Okay, and to me, the voiceover part kind of took away from the movie, because I'm just like, little boy, come, okay. But you know, we're gonna get into my dislikes, but it starts off with it, so I gotta say it in the beginning, okay? And so he's talking about, you know, I wonder how God hears us in heaven, and you know, what does it sound like to God, and how does he know who to answer prayers for, and stuff like that. And it is alluding to stuff that happened in the movie. And then we go to the black church, and you know, like black churches do. Another thing I'm gonna say in the beginning of this movie that I felt throughout this movie, I kind of miss church. Like, we haven't been to church in a very long time, and I have my gripes with church. But this movie, I was like, oh, I miss the choirs and stuff. Like that feeling you get when you hear fellowship and like worship. That's, you can't get that online, okay? So I was like, yes, okay. And you know, you see all people in the crowd, and it's great. And you know, we get introduced to Whitney Houston, who is on the choir. Hanging, okay? Like I said, she finna sing. That's one thing you know, okay? Courtney Vance, he is apparently the pastor. We see Jennifer Lewis, who I love, okay? I love me some Jennifer Lewis, so I was hyped that she was in this movie. And a little boy who is apparently Whitney Houston and Courtney Vance's son. Now, if you're new here, I'm gonna tell you right now, because you're probably like, why you ain't saying their character names? Because I don't, okay? I don't, and it's okay, because you know who I'm talking about. So, yes, so, and Jennifer Lewis is apparently Whitney Houston's mom, right? So, we cut to them at church, and Mr. Pastor talking about temptation.
Beloved, in our exploration of the text today, I would like to talk to you about temptation. And not just the kind you find in a liquor store or someone else's bed.
And trying to go against temptation. And I'm like,
what's going on?
because I feel like this is some pettiness behind this little sermon. I feel like he's trying to say a statement. So I'm like, ooh, who getting tempted? I'm curious. So, you know, the sermon's over, and you know, they go back to the house. And so they get to the house, and you know, we see Jennifer Lewis being Jennifer Lewis, because we gotta love her. We gotta love the queen, being her very sassy self, and I love it.
Oh yeah? Well, somebody just better get their house in order. That's all I know.
Well, don't look at me, Ma, okay?
I'm looking at you.
All right, well, Mama, you can look at me from behind.
Girl, don't be talking to me about your behind. I gave you that behind.
And she's talking about how, you know, he apparently did, Courtney Vance's character apparently did a sermon that Whitney Houston's father did, because he was apparently the pastor of the church before he passed away. I'm assuming he passed away. And so, you know, she was talking about how, you know, they obviously got some problems, because you can kind of feel the tension between the two, Whitney Houston and Courtney Vance. You can feel the tension, okay? You can feel it. And Jennifer Lawrence is like, Jennifer Lewis, totally different people. Whoa, okay, Jennifer Lewis was like, oh, yo, y'all need to get it together, because y'all, you know, it's not good. So Courtney Vance is in his room, and he's like, oh, I just need some help, like praying to God, like I need help. And all of a sudden, Denzel Washington is on their lawn. This the show from heaven. He on their lawn now. That's normal, yeah. And so the kids is outside playing in the snow because it's snowing. It's the week before Christmas, so that's, you know, it's the week before Christmas. That's why I picked this movie. And they are, it's funny, it snowed in Philly and like East Coast this week. How convenient. Maybe somebody getting their prayers answered right now. Okay, sorry, side note. Anyway, so Denzel Washington comes down, the little kids is outside, and they're like,
Oh, who the hell?
who is this stranger danger? We running away, okay? And that was a good thing in the beginning, but they get too comfortable. I'm gonna give y'all a spoiler. They get way too comfortable in this movie, okay? Woo. And so, like, we see a scene at this community center, and we see these kids, and they're like, oh, come on, they shutting it down. Hamilton is shutting it down. He don't know, but they just want us to go to jail. They just want us to do bad. And Courtney Vance's character is there, and it's like, no, we gonna find a way. You just gotta, you know, work extra hard and find other stuff to do. And this is when I realized that some of the scenes are kind of cut, like, they're just like cut from one place to another place, and I'm like, oh shoot, we had a community center, okay. Because literally what happened was Denzel Washington falls on the ground, the little kids is like, oh no, and they run away, and then we cut to a community center, and I was like, what day is this? What is this? Okay, again, I'm a spoiler. I do like this movie, but there is problems, okay. So then from the community center scene, we see Courtney Vance is walking down the street, and he runs into Denzel Washington's character, right? And his character's name is Dudley. That is the only character name that stuck with me, because what kind of freaking name is Dudley? Dudley do right, I guess. I don't. Y'all tell me if there's a reference, because I ain't never heard an angel named Dudley, and that was mentioned in this movie. Where was there an angel in the Bible named Dudley? I know Gabriel. Why didn't they just call him that? Anyway, that's neither here nor there. His name is Dudley. So he was like, oh, my name is Dudley, you know, and he was like, you know, talking to him, and he was like, how do you know me? And he was like, well, you called for me. And he was like, what? I didn't call for you. Who are you? I don't even know who you is. And he was like, you asked God for help, and here I am. And he was like, that don't make no sense, because you ain't no angel. And he was like, yeah, my name, that's what he said, my name is Dudley. And he said, yeah, I remember the angel Dudley. Yeah, in the Bible, he was there. But, you know, that little conversation happens, and Courtney Vance does not believe him, obviously, as most people would, because this random man comes up to you and it's like, hey, I'm an angel. And you're like, oh, okay, yeah, okay. That's so real. So the next thing we see is Denzel Washington. He's walking around the city, and he's asking people about Courtney Vance's character. Now, one of the flaws that I saw in this movie is that for an angel, he don't know a lot, and he also does not act very angelly in this movie. But he don't know much about him, apparently. And he's asking people, saying, oh, he could be kind of rude. And the people was like, no, he saved my family. And they like mad at him for even saying that. And so the next thing we see is at the house. So we cut back to the house, because again, jumpy. We cut back to the house, and we see the little boy, and he in his bed. And I was like, oh, he got the Lion King sheets. Everybody had the little Lion King sheets. They so cute. Anyway, so he's in bed, and his mom's sucking him in. And one thing I did not mention is that we find out in the beginning that the little boy's best friend is going to Child Protective Services because his mama apparently ran away, left him with his grandmother, who was apparently very old and can't take care of him. And this happens a lot, so it's very sad to see. But he is very upset. He's like, oh, I'm never going to see him again. Like, I miss my best friend. And this is actually important to the plot, because at first I was like, why do I keep bringing this up? But it comes back up, okay? It does come back up. So then we cut to a robbery, okay? I was like, whoa, what is... All I hear is people running out of a store, shooting into... I was like, whoa, what is going on? Again, I like this movie, but I need y'all to like get me into the scene first before you just start shooting people, okay? But they're in a robbery at a liquor store. Some people started shooting. There's a guy tucked away behind a car like, oh no. And the police show up very quickly for the kind of neighborhood we're in, because if you know anything, they don't show up that fast, okay? Not there. But yeah, they show up at the house. They show up at the scene, and the guy who was standing behind a car comes up and it's like, oh, let me tell you. And then the store owner is like, no, he did it. He's the one that did it, because he's just a black man, and you know, we just won't point the finger at any black man we see. Still accurate. And so the cops come, they arrest him without really saying anything, questioning anybody else. They just arrest the boy, which again, I mean, still pretty accurate, honestly. Yeah. So the little boy, not the little boy, he seems like a grown man. I think he's a grown man. He's in jail, and his mom is there with Courtney Vance's character. I'm just gonna call him the pastor. That's easier to say than Courtney Vance. The pastor is like, you know, we're gonna try to bail him out. We're gonna get him out when we can. You know, everything's gonna work out to the mom. And the mom's like, oh, I don't understand. And he gets one of the people who work for his church to drive her to home with her kids. And you know, the guy doesn't seem very happy about it. And again, that is relevant to the movie. And so the pastor is leaving. He's going to his car, and he gets in and the car won't start. And all of a sudden, Denzel Washington shows up. And he's like, hey, what's up? And he's like, oh God, here comes this guy again. I don't know who he is, and he keeps bothering me. And he's like, look, I'm here to help you. Let me help you, please, okay? And he's like, oh, if you ain't really helping me, yada, yada, yada. And so the car starts as soon as he shows up. He's like, come, see, I'm helping you. And then confusion. He does not believe that he is an angel, or that he knows him, or that he's anybody important, but he lets him in his car. Stranger danger went out the window, I guess, because I know for me and anybody I know, if I don't know you, you ain't getting in my car. But he gets him in his car. They start driving. He's talking about, you know, the angel handbook and all the rules for angels. Like, we can't do anything you don't want us to do. We want me to do. I can't do anything that you can do yourself. You know, things like that. And I realized some of these rules got broken in this movie. Another kind of plot hole. I was like, I feel like he did some stuff that he didn't want him to do kind of plenty of times. So it was kind of a convenient thing when it had to be convenient. But he drops him off, and you know, Courtney Vance the pastor drives away. And so one thing that we found out in this scene with them in the car is that Denzel Washington's character apparently was waiting in line to come back down from heaven, because he really wanted to come back down. He was cutting his prime, because you know, he was young looking and he was good looking. I mean, Denzel Washington is good looking, let's be real. Okay, so he was like, look, I got cut down in my prime. I want to come back to Earth and re-experience Earth, right? And so I had to wait in line for them to send me down here, and I really want to help you. And I found that very interesting, and I'll tell you why at the end. Now, we cut to the church. They're at the church. It's choir rehearsal. The kids are having their little Bible study and everything, and then a boiler explodes. But my thing was, in this scene, is that they continued to sing over the boiler shaking. I was like, y'all hear this boiler, y'all about to die. Okay, get out, because it could explode. But I digress. They go and they're like, oh my God, the boiler. The pastor shows up at the church, and he's like, what's going on? And so the next thing we see is they're at their house, right? And Loretta Devine's character, who's also in this movie, Loretta Devine, I don't think I brought her up. She's in this movie. Every black person that you know from movies is in this movie. I'm surprised that half the people I've talked about in every other movie is not in this movie. Okay? But Loretta Devine is in this movie, and she is the secretary for the pastor, apparently. And she comes in and she's like, oh, I need us to give y'all mail. And, you know, Whitney Houston and the pastor, they kind of have this like dynamic where you can tell something's wrong. And to me, I kept like feeling like she cheated on him or he cheated on her, but that's not at all what it is. And the dynamics of it, I guess, like, I never been married, so I don't know, but like it seemed like it was over exaggerated for what it was. But I'm gonna get there. Loretta Devine's character goes into the office and she sees Denzel Washington. Sees him there. And she's like, oh, how do you know the pastor? You know, where does he know you from? And he was like, oh, I was sent here to be his assistant. And she's like, oh no, I'm about to get fired. And at this time, we see that the pastor has to go to the bail hearing for the boy who got in trouble for the robbery he didn't do. And so he goes there while Denzel Washington's over the house. And come to find out, Bull gets $25,000 bill. Now, I don't know what evidence they have. Apparently he got in trouble before. You know what? Again, it doesn't matter because the system. This is the system. Essentially, is how he got his $25,000 bill. Because Jesus Christ. And at this time, while he's at this court hearing, Denzel Washington is talking to Whitney Houston's character and kind of buttering her up. Jennifer Lewis's character buttering her up. She thinks he's so handsome. And then he goes upstairs and talks to this little boy. Now, my thing is, and you tell me, because maybe I'm different. My thing is, if I don't know you, yes, you may be coming as an assistant, because that's the story he was telling everybody. The people over the churches, I should know what that is, because I should know what that is. Given my history of church, I should know what that is. But the people over the church sent him there to be his assistant. Even if that was the case, I don't know you, sir. I don't. Why are you in my kid's room? Because the pastor's office is in their house, which happens because, you know, you ain't got an office at the church, maybe. And so my thing is, like, why are you in this boy's house? But anyway, he goes into the little boy's room and the little boy's sad because, well, he's sad because during this time his friend gets taken to Child Protective Services, which sad, very sad. He's like, I miss my friend, I'm never gonna see him again. And Denzel Washington's like, yeah, you'll see him again, just think about all the memories you had with him. And he said something about his mother when she lost someone who was very dear to him, very dear to her. All she thought about was those type of things, and he was with her forever. And I kept thinking, okay, we're gonna find out who he is, because he brings up his family, he brings up that he was young when he died, he brings up how much he misses being on Earth, but we never, spoiler alert, we never find out who he is. And I really wish that we did, because I feel like that's something that I was like, okay, so when we gonna find out who the heck this man is? Like, was he related to them? Was he like a big member, like a big person in New York at one point? Like, maybe I missed it, so this is my first watch reaction, so okay. But if you remember it being different, you tell me in the comments. But I was just like, why have we never found out who he is? But maybe that's just me. And so the next thing we see is the pastor comes into the house and he's like, why are you here? And they were like, oh, he came down as an assistant and whatever. And apparently he gave the secretary the day off, and he was, you know, he was helping the family do everything. And the pastor is upset, as he kind of should be, to be quite honest, because who are you? And so we see kind of the conflicts get fleshed out in regards to him and his wife, that it's essentially that he's too busy. Now, again, I've never been married. And I know a lot of people who are in church, like ministers, pastor. My uncle's a pastor, my dad's a minister, he was a deacon. Like, I know a little bit about church, a little bit. And the one thing that I realized about being a pastor, especially, is that you are always busy. Like, that your job is to always be busy, because you're supposed to be taking care of your church. You're the under shepherd, you're supposed to be over the church. So, and the fact that Whitney Houston's dad was also a pastor, so I feel like she should know that he gonna be busy. Now granted, again, I've never been married, and also if your love language is quality time and being with somebody, that could eventually get to you. You may not think it will, but it may get to you. But it seems like the big conflict they're having is that he's always busy. And the whole temptation thing stopped making sense because I was like, well, what is being tempted? I'm confused. But okay, maybe that was just me catching some pettiness off of it that wasn't there. But yeah, so they have to go to a meeting with the guy who apparently was closing down a community center, whose name is Joe Hamilton. And so Denzel Washington decides to go with the pastor, and he was like, I don't want you to come in here with me. And he was like, remember, your rule is you can't do something I don't want you to do. And he was like, fine, okay. And so he goes to this meeting, and the guy, remember I said one of the members of his church dropped off the lady to her house. He was there. Another one of his trustees is there. And a bunch of other people from the church is there. And Joe Hamilton, who was played by Gregory Hines, who I know he's been in a lot of stuff, but I remember him from Will and Grace. He was on Will and Grace. I love that show. Anyway, and so he's like, you know, normal stingy politician, like, look, we're gonna build you this brand new church, and we're going to get you out of that neighborhood and put you over here in this really nice area and get all the community centers and and that. And at first Courtney Vance is like, no, I don't want that. We are here, we're fine with that, that's fine. And then all of his people who were there were like, look, come on, this is not what you want to do. You don't want. He was like, well, how about you just give me a new boiler, like, because we need a new boiler. He was like, well, I'll give you a new boiler in this little church community. And he was like, no, that's not what I want. His people was like, come on, he's trying to help the church, like, let him do it. And eventually pastor decides to give in, and I was like, wow, you put up such a fight. Not really, but okay. So then Whitney Houston's character decides to go to church to have their little rehearsal for their play they're having for Christmas. And I'm thinking, your boiler is out, how the heck you ain't cold? Then again, I'm thinking too much. Okay, so they're doing this little nativity scene thing, and it's cute because it's kids and stuff. And Denzel Washington is there with them as well, and they get to, him and Whitney Houston get to talking after they leave, and he's like, you know, how y'all meet? And he was like, oh, we've been together since we were in diapers. And I was like, hold up, is Courtney Vance and Whitney Houston the same age? But for some reason I thought she was substantially younger than him, but they're only 3 years apart. Who would have thought? But he was like, you know, we knew each other since we were in diapers, and he was like, oh, you should buy this little teddy for him, and that's all he needs for Christmas. And I'm like, is this man flirting with her? He supposed to be an angel. Why he foot? Okay. So they go to the diner, and you know, the pastor shows up, and he's like, kind of like, oh, come on, like, we need to go, and because we need to go shopping for, you know, Christmas and stuff, which you waited a week. Okay, look, I'm not gonna judge, but but then the Washington's character is like, no, I'll take your son to go shopping. And I'm like, sir, we just met you. But Courtney Vance is obviously upset. He's like, why are you sitting here chit-chatting with old boy like all best buddies and some stuff, and he up here gallivanting with my child? Like, I would be upset too, I'm not going to lie. He tells her that he is taking the deal from Hamilton, and she's upset because, and I understand this, because it is her father's church. Again, if you've been in church culture, you know, like, keeping the church in the family and like having that as like a part of the neighborhood and being in that neighborhood and keeping it up is a big deal. So I get where she's mad at. And so she leaves, she goes home to her mom, and her mom, she's like, you know, he did that without even talking to me. Dad would never do that. And Jennifer Lewis is like, yeah, he would. See, you don't know a lot about your father because you was his daughter, but he was keeping secrets from me all the time. And I was like, oh. Especially when it came to the church, and she was like, well, you know, whatever, he should have said something to me. He should have asked me about it. And she was like, you know, we're not like we were back in the day where, you know, men would just do everything and then not say nothing to their wives about it. Which I kind of agree. I'll be honest. And so the next thing we see is Whitney Houston and Denzel Washington. They're going to get a tree. I don't know why they keep doing stuff together, but she's very trusting of this man she just met. I mean, he is attractive, but my thing is, you're married, so again, I'm not gonna judge. But she goes to get this tree with him, and she's mad. She's like, oh, I don't know why he doing this, he don't care, yada yada yada. And he's like, come on, you know, y'all married, y'all should be, you know, coming together and yada yada yada. And she has her finger, and he says, oh, you've ever had your palm read? And he like touches her hands and starts saying all this, like, you know, you're a beautiful woman who has everything she needs right in front of her, and like touching on her hand. And this is when I realized this is getting a little too close to home. Like, they're not just friends, okay? There's something going on here, because I don't know what's going on. So he's like, you know what will make y'all feel better? You should go dancing. And she's like, oh yeah. And he was like, yeah, y'all should go dancing and have a good night out together, right? And so they get back to the house, and Denzel Washington character tells the pastor that, you know, I told her we're gonna go dancing. And he was like, man, I got stuff to do, okay? Like, I gotta take these blankets and then do all this, and like, I ain't got time to go dancing. Like, and you already told her I was going, you didn't ask me, okay? So she upstairs getting dressed, and I'm like, okay, yeah, I understand the upset, but my thing is, like, I mean, do y'all not go out? Like, you need to take your wife out sometime, come on, dog. And he was like, this is a bad time, but my thing is, you didn't know what he was doing, so that's kind of messed up. And when he's like, look, you take her to Denzel Washington's character, and Whitney Houston come down looking all pretty and stuff, and Denzel Washington gets mesmerized. He's like, oh girl, you so fine. And one thing I wrote down in my notes, I was like, yo, he looking at her kind of lustfully. This ain't no angel, because my thing is, in lust the sin. Okay, look, I don't know how angels work, I ain't never been one. So they go out to this bar, and they're going dancing, because my guy does not know how to dance, okay? And my thing is, they keep alluding to the fact that, like, he doesn't know how to do stuff of the time because he is from another time. He didn't know what a computer was. He didn't know anything about dancing, like the now dancing. He wanted to like do like the slow dance, but he still don't figure out anything about his life. And I was like, why? Why? But that's neither here nor there. So they're dancing. He can't dance at all. And we see Lionel Richie. I didn't know he was in this movie. I was like, is that Lionel Richie? He looked kind of like Lionel Richie, but what is that accent?
No, that's good.
Let me tell you something. You ever want to know what loving really sounds like? She's got that secret in her voice.
Why don't you share that secret with us, Julie?
Come on, remind us, sweet thing.
No, Dudley, it's been years, really, a long time.
You still...
I don't know what he was trying to portray, but I didn't like it. Anyway, Lionel Richie comes up and is like, oh yeah, Whitney used to be here all the time. She used to sing all the time. And you know, you should come up and sing, go up and sing. And she was like, you know, Lionel Richie said that the way she sings lets you know what love is really about, okay? There's only certain people that I know that have sang to the point where it touches my soul. And Whitney Houston, R.I.P. to one of the, not if the best voice per, is, I'm not even at the, but she just, we missed the good one. Anyway, so they come back, and by the way, Denzel Washington is again mesmerized. He's like, oh my gosh. She sings I Believe in You and Me, and I love that song anyway. So I'm just like, I believe in love too. I thought I did, but I believe in love. But they get back home, and apparently they're late. They're really late. They're really late coming back. But before they get in the house, the little boy, again, he cannot act. I'm so sorry, but he can't. The little boy is in there with his dad, and he was like, yeah, you know, we got to get your mom something for Christmas. And he was like, yeah, mom wants to go to bed. And he was like, what? And that's what she wanted to do for Christmas. He was like, what does that even mean? And he was like, yeah, she was out there with Dudley, and she said they were looking at this little nightgown, and she said that's what she wanted for Christmas. And he was like, I can't even keep a straight face because he a pastor, so I'm gonna let it slide. But let my son be like, yeah, they was looking at little nightgowns together, I'd have smacked the that man would have walked into my house and walked into a fist. But then again, we've already found that I'm violent, so we're working on it. Anger management, it's okay. But yeah, they finally come in the house, and he's like, what happened? Like, why did y'all go out so late? And he was like, oh, she was singing at Jazzy's. I think that was the name of it. If it's not, I'll put it here. But apparently that's the place they got. He proposed to her at. She's, like I said, she's singing there all the time. And he's like, you took her to Jazzy's? Like, why would you take us to the place that I proposed to her at? Like, why would you do that? Obviously, he doesn't know that. But, you know, he was like, oh, we just had a good time. We just had fun. And I'm like, this seemed like, again, I don't gotta say it again because y'all know. Anyway, and so we have a little speech between Denzel Washington and the pastor. And mind you, I'm like, I won't even be talking to you right now, but they're talking. And he's like, you don't believe in anything anymore. You don't believe in hope. You don't believe in, you know, your wife or your kids, or, you know, you don't even believe that little boy who got arrested, and you don't believe he's not guilty. And he was like, I don't know. I mean, he might be. And he was like, well, look him in his eyes and ask him if he's guilty, and you can tell if he's guilty or not. And I was like, I don't think that's how that works, but apparently this comes up again. Yeah, it's that's an important part. That's why I put it in there. Then we have one of the most unrealistic scenes in this movie, and it's, well, no, this happens a lot in movies because I don't think they understand how courts work. So they go and talk. You know, he goes to talk to Billy, who's a kid who got arrested for this alleged crime that he did not commit. And he's like, look, you know, you believe in hope. Do you believe in prayer? When's the last time you prayed? You know, and he used a metaphor, you know, when you shoot a basketball and you trying to get in the hole, you're hoping that it goes in. That's essentially what a prayer is. A prayer is essentially shooting and hoping that something happens. And I was like, okay, I can understand that. I like that analogy. And so he was like, you know, did you do it? He looked him in his eyes. And he was like, did you do it? He said, no, I didn't do it. I was just there because apparently he was there to get a VHS tape for his mom. Remember VHS tapes? I gotta stop every time that comes up. But anyway, he was getting a VHS tape for his mom, and he got the receipt. He was innocent. Like, he was innocent. And so the pastor decides to run into this courtroom. Now I'm thinking, because he apparently was getting indicted by a grand jury, which so many things are wrong with this. But anyway, he's apparently getting indicted by a grand jury. He steps into Courtney Vance goes into the courtroom where the judge is, the one who gave him the bail, walks into her courtroom, just barges in. There's a whole other case happening. And I was like, again, unrealistic. So unrealistic. And so he's like, you know what? He's innocent. I know he's innocent. I have hope. Yada, yada. He's going in this long monologue. And I'm just like, you would have been arrested by now, but continue. And so he's like, you know, use this evidence. The grand jury is about to indict him. He's innocent. And then he drives Billy home because apparently he's out already. I'm like, unrealistic. Unrealistic, but you know, it's a Christmas movie, so sometimes you need some wonder, some miracles, you know. And so another problematic scene, we see Dudley, Denzel Washington, and Whitney Houston and the little baby. They are skating, okay, and then the little boy is like, "Ooh, yeah, Dudley, woo, let's go." And I'm like, "This is your daddy at this point." Like, I'm like, "That's your daddy," but again, off that topic. And so they sit the little boy down and they start skating together, and I'm like, he is an angel, right? And I'm not really too hip on angels, but I feel like you're not supposed to be macking on somebody's wife if you're an angel. Like, you're not supposed to be sitting here like, yo, because they was close, okay, very close. And I'm like, sir, I don't know how God picked you to do this, but he picked the wrong person, okay? And maybe that was where the temptation thing was. Maybe that's where it came from. Foreshadowing. Ooh, I like it. Okay. Now I see. I just watched the movie and learning new stuff. Anyway, so Whitney Houston's character is like, oh my God, I wonder where the pastor's at. Like, where is he? And he was like, oh, he probably stuck in traffic. Because as he's trying to get to the ice skating rink, he keeps coming into red lights. And I'm like, he is purposefully keeping him from that can't be for the rules. He had rules, okay? Okay. And so they are hopping and skipping to a cab. Whitney Houston, Denzel Washington, and the little baby. They hopping, skipping, jumping, singing together. And I'm like, this might as well be the family at this point. Like, they done replaced him at this point. So they get to the house. And then, you know, the pastor shows up at the house, and he was like to the little boy, oh, did your mama teach you how to skate? And he was like, oh no, exactly. And mom taught me how to skate. They just replacing this man. It's so sad. Anyway, And so the very interesting scene that happens between Jennifer Lewis and Whitney Houston is that she's like, look, you don't need to be up here window shopping. I.e. like you into this man, okay? She was like, I can window shop if I want to. And she was like, well, as long as you don't put nothing on layaway, i.e. you're married, sis. You can't be out here doing all this with some man that you just met, okay? And so the pastor's like, yo, stay away from my wife. Dead, like, sorry. And so, you know, he's like, look, I'm here to help you. He has a little book, and then Courtney Vance throws it in the fire and explodes. And he was like, oh, you in trouble now. And I never really put together how he was in trouble, because everything ended up working out in the end. So that never got explained. And so we see Denzel Washington walking around the city, and we also see Courtney Vance and Whitney Houston are driving, because they have these Christmas baskets that's apparently given to people. And so they're giving out these Christmas baskets, and they're in the car, they're joking, they're having a good time with each other. And she's like, you know, I miss having time with you. And he was like, well, you know, everything's so busy. And, you know, they're walking up to the stairs to give the Christmas baskets, and Denzel Washington blows him over. And she's laughing and joking, and then she blows her over, and they're like together and so cute. And so they give the family the baskets. I don't like that moment, because it kind of seemed like he was actually helping them get together. Because my thing was, Dudley, Mr. Denzel, is supposed to be helping them get back together. So my thing is like, how are you flirting with his wife and also helping them get their marriage together? That don't make no sense. You can't do both. And so Courtney Vance decides, you know what, he goes to the church, and he sees a new boiler that he was given, and he goes to you know, he sees the people in the church working, and he's like, no, I don't want to leave these people in this neighborhood, like I care about these people. And he decides to go to the Hamilton's house, and is like, look, I don't want it no more. I don't want this deal. I don't want to do it no more. And he was like, actually you can't, because if you do, I own the mortgage to your church apparently, and I'm gonna tear it down. Because the property is more important to me than the actual church. Because this whole time throughout the movie, you see him having ads about him wanting to gentrify the neighborhood, obviously. And so he's like, look, I can just build some high rises over there. I don't care. And he's kind of going back and forth with him, like, you know, remember where you came from, because these people, this is where you came from, this is what you, and he was like, I don't care about that, I just want my money. And so we see at the house, the little boy's best friend shows back up. I don't know how. They apparently got him for a week, or no, they got him to New Year's, so 2 weeks. Courtney Vance is sitting there, he's writing a sermon, and he's talking about how they're going to lose the church, and Whitney Houston sees it, and Denzel Washington kind of figures what's going on, and he goes to Hamilton's house at night. Okay, he just steps in this man's house. I'm like, why did they let you in? Because I don't open the door for people I don't know at night. But anyway, so they let him in, and Hamilton's like, you're supposed to be his assistant, he sent you here, I'm not changing it. And then Dudley was like, oh, I'm an angel, that's who I am. And he was like, you ain't no damn angel. So he starts playing the piano, and the piano keeps playing. After he stops playing it, he turns the radio on without it being plugged up. And I was like, why didn't he do this to them? That's the part I don't understand. Like, how he didn't prove to them, because he did it to the little boy. The little boy had a toy that was broken. He put the toy back on just with magic. Ooh. But my thing is, the whole time that Courtney Vance has been sitting here doubting that you're an angel, why you ain't just do no angel stuff? I digress. Him doing all that has apparently changed Hamilton's mind, and he decides to keep the church. Now, the way we find this out, okay? Denzel Washington's character is like, yo, comes to the church on the day of Christmas, and there's a kids play going on, and he goes backstage with Whitney Houston, and he's like, yo, I'm leaving. I just want to say bye, right? And he was like, oh, don't leave. We need you, yada, yada, yada. And I'm like, I don't know how this got resolved, because she still like you. Okay, never mind. Anyway, so he's like, no, I gotta go, and they kiss on the cheek, but I'm like, still a little too much. And she goes, the little girl who's playing Mary, she leaves, and she goes out there to play it for her, and that's the little thing. And then they have the sermon. Now, the way this was supposed to go, and I didn't mention this, but it's important to this part, is they were supposed to be televising, that's the word, televising his sermon to, you know, the masses. And so they had a teleprompter of his sermon. He's turned his notes in, and apparently the notes got changed to, instead of saying they lost the church, that they got the church. So he decided to change the whole sermon because he was like, whoa, God done spoke to me, okay? He was like, Lord, I feel you. And he starts talking about hope and love and forgiveness and all this good stuff. And you know, he's like, yeah, you know, you can have hope when you think everything's not gonna work out. You can have hope. And you see Hamilton in the pews, and he's getting, you know, shook up, and you know, Denzel Washington's in the back, and you know, everything's getting like climax. It's the climax, right? And so, you know, he leaves. Denzel Washington's character leaves. Best part of this movie, in my opinion, Whitney Houston, Hasten to His Throne.
Yeah, I'm very much aware that this song is called I Love the Lord. I don't know why I called it I Hasten to His Throne. Like, I'm editing this video and I'm like, sis, what are you doing? Okay, back to the video.
That's all I gotta say. If you've never heard the song, listen to that song. That is one song that if you've never heard, you gotta listen to it, because I'm honestly, my opinion, one of the best gospel songs per. Because listen to the song, okay? But I'm sitting here like, yes, because you know, I haven't recorded a video in a while. I've been kind of not feeling too great emotionally, and I was like, yes, this is lifting my spirits. Go ahead, Whitney, you better sing. And I'm enjoying this movie. Mr. Denzel Washington Dudley himself walks into their house. While this is a little montage of him like walking out, you know, you see Hamilton, he's feeling the Holy Spirit, and Dudley goes to their house and sees a picture of Courtney Vance and Whitney Houston together at their wedding picture, and he changes him to be him. Like, he changes the pastor to be him. And I was like, I don't think we revised this, because sir, you're still lusting against this man's wife. Now, obviously, you made it blatant at this point. But okay, fine, we're believing that. And we get, Lionel Richie shows up and he starts playing the piano, and we get joy, 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 joy to the world, sing joy to the world. I can actually sing, but that's my not trying. Yeah, I can sing, don't leave. Don't judge me. And so everybody's leaving the church after this song, and you know, Hamilton's like, oh, we can work something out. And you know, Denzel Washington, the character, comes up to him and said, oh, it was a good sermon, pastor. And he was like, thanks. And the little boy's like, oh, Dudley, where you going? He was like, oh, I gotta go. And the little boy runs up to his parents and it's like, oh, Dudley, you remember Dudley? And they was like, who the heck is Dudley? Because one thing I didn't mention is that once his mission is over, they'll forget who he is. He'll disappear and he'll forget who he is. So it apparently means that everything got worked out. Now, we cut to a year later. It's the end of the movie. Hakeem, who is the little boy's little friend, they adopt him apparently. So he has a brother, and you know, little boy wraps everything up, but he can't act. So it was kind of irritating. I wanted a better wrap up. But as with most of these Girlfriends Take a Black Cards, I am going to give a rating to this movie. Now, pros, right? We're gonna start with pros and cons. Pros, the music, because Whitney Houston, like, duh. Pros, everybody in this movie can act except for that little boy. Oh my God, we got Jennifer Lewis, Denzel Washington, Courtney Vance, Loretta Devine, Whitney Houston, who was not a bad actor. Now, mind you, I realized I don't think I've seen any movies with Whitney Houston in it.
Okay, I literally said this last week. I definitely did see a Whitney Houston movie. It's called Cinderella with Brandy and Natalie Desselle. R.I.P. to Natalie Desselle and Whitney Houston. I don't know why. You will see throughout this video that I don't remember a lot of stuff. We need to get my brain checked, obviously.
Like, I haven't seen Waiting to Exhale. I haven't seen The Bodyguard. I need to get on that. We're gonna do that. We won't get on that. But she wasn't bad. She was not bad, okay? And that was a good part. I like the message that, you know, you can make a difference. You have hope. You know, God can change things, you know, regardless of your beliefs. Things can change for the better. I liked that. And I liked kind of having a nostalgia of a good little church fellowship, okay? Because that made me feel good, okay? Cons. So many plot holes. There was a lot of plot holes. Like I said, with a book burnt, and he was like, oh, you done messed up now. Nothing bad happened. I guess, no, nothing bad happened. Actually, things started getting better after that. So, also the court scene being so unbelievable, that just threw me off. We never found out who Denzel Washington's character was, which was kind of upsetting. And also, he was not acting like an angel at all. There was nothing angelic about this man. So I don't know why they kept calling him an angel, but I digress. And some of the scenes, like I said, didn't flow together very well. So because of that, I'm going to give this movie a 7.5 out of 10. It was not horrible. It definitely made me feel better. So I got a little advantage for that. And Whitney Houston, R.I.P. Because that was the best part of the movie, was the music, to be quite honest. So there it is. This is my review of The Preacher's Wife. I'm looking at how long I've been recording, and this might be a long video. So if you made it to the end, thank you. Oh my God, you like my voice that well? Somebody said in one of my other videos that I talk too much, and I agree. So I didn't even respond. I was like, yeah, you're right. But I try to explain everything, so my bad. And with that being said, if you like this video, hit the like button. If you have any comments, questions, or concerns, or suggestions, put it in the comment section below. And if you haven't subscribed already and you like what you see, then hit that subscribe button. I'm gonna make sure that next year, 100%, I'm gonna get more in depth about it, but we're going to have a real good schedule next year, okay? And I still have other videos for this year, so you have nothing, you got plenty of stuff to watch, okay? And with that being said, I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.